If this episode wasn't written by the current Doctor Who showrunner, I wouldn't even bother giving it the time of day. This was his first writing credit for the show and had written several episodes of Torchwood a year prior. I never thought Torchwood was that bad though. Sure, the sex monster and a cyber woman might have been a little too progressive for their time, but Children of Earth is my go-to recommendation series, which hilariously Chibnall had nothing to do with. I think the BBC looked over the TV pond, saw the success of Broadchurch on ITV, and thought the same craft and care would work for Doctor Who. Hell, I thought it would work, and it did for like the first episode, but Doctor Who isn't an adult serial crime drama. I personally thought Chibnall didn't get enough time to write a proper series of Doctor Who. When you spend 5 years crafting a decent crime drama and are then nominated to whip up a new series for the most famous British TV show ever in the space of a year, I find it hard to blame him for not being able to flesh everything out properly. That's my little reflection of Series 11 nearly a year on, and it's just to say I don't hate the guy. He's just produced a lot of meh in his works relating to Doctor Who. Will 42 be the same? Let's find out. The episode begins with Martha getting an upgrade from Carphone TARDIS house in order for her to call her mum in the midst of a life or death pub quiz later on. The pair then arrive on a ship that is going to burn up in 42 minutes time, and I still hold on to the opinion that this is a great concept for a Doctor Who episode. It's simple, matches up with the length of the episode, and creates continuous tension. You have characters babbling incoherently because they don't have long to live, with Martha seeing the imminent danger outside a window. Fortunately, she doesn't get blinded by the immense light stars tend to give off, but for the sake of the story, I'm willing to give this, and the fact the sun is presented as being yellow and orange, a pass. It'd be hard to take this episode seriously if they were all forced to wear goofy eye protection just to wander about the ship. This lovely long shot of the ship's exterior to then see it falling into the sun, accompanied by Murray Gold's score, kicks off the episode wonderfully. From here on in though, the whole thing just becomes a bit of a shit show. They start by huddling around a lump of metal that needs fixing in the middle of this room. Basically, they need to get to the front of the ship to boot up the engines, but there are 29 sealed doors between them and there. One chap called Riley nominates himself to open them, and for some reason Martha goes with him. No ifs or buts, it is just required for the plot. She looks way too happy to be running off with some stranger tasked with opening some doors. It's also required for the Doctor to examine Corwin, Kath's husband. Oh look, it's Rosa Parks. Seriously though, there are far too many forgettable characters in this story. What's worse is they all have surnames too. So sometimes Kath will be McDonnell, even though she's married to Corwin, whose first name is Hal, and you get the picture. There's also Baldy, Baldy's slave, and Orange, the only person to stand up to the Doctor in the entire episode. It is honestly just weird. Oh, right. Okay, then. This was also rather weird, considering how protective Kath is over her husband, and yet it's no bother at all when this stranger you met 5 minutes ago just knocks him out with a chemical gun. We then start to get characters just blurting out expository dialogue, not unlike basically every episode in Series 11.
Abby, how's Corwin doing? Any results from the bioscan?
He's under heavy sedation.
Yes, I think he knows that, dear. He did it himself. This episode also boasts extreme unoriginality because we hear the same musical stings as those used in the Impossible Planet Satan Pit episodes. Hell, they even put the Doctor in the same space costume too. These are small aspects of a larger problem in that this episode is far too similar to those ones in nearly every single regard. A large group of miners are being slowly pulled into a star of some kind, only for a monster of alien origin to start infecting and controlling a member of the crew, trying to kill them all off. By the end, the surviving characters miraculously get pulled out of the star and fly away to safety. Everything those 2 episodes did to near perfection, this episode does really poorly. This is only 1 episode and doesn't have enough time to flesh out these characters, and when it tries to, it just comes off as laughable. For example, when Martha and Riley are locked in the pod later on, he babbles on about his mum, and I'm just sat there like, who bloody cares? I care about Martha and her connection to her mother, not yours and your creepy forehead kisses. Speaking of those two, Riley Riley explains that the crew got drunk one time and thought up all these questions and answers to the 29 doors. If they get it wrong though, it all freezes up. You'd think this would add some tension to the scenario, but all it does is remove it. Take this number question for example. The Doctor gives this long-winded explanation of what happy prime numbers are, and I can already feel my eyes rolling into the back of my head. You don't need to prove your nerdiness, Chris. Everybody's already seen your little review back in 1986. Also, time is of the essence here, and all the characters continually forget this fact. I didn't really mind Martha calling her mum too much. Her complaining about trivial concerns like the mouse being unplugged provided humour against the intensity of Martha having mere minutes to live. It's also rather amusing over 10 years on when we can just Google stuff like that on our phones, and her poor mum has to filter through thousands of results to find exactly what she's looking for. It was a nice spin on the phone upgrade scenario we got in Series 1, calling her mum for a reason other than, "Oh my god, I miss you, I'm in outer space, but I can't tell you." But sadly this happens later anyway, so I guess its function is still fairly uninspired. Rosa Parks then starts calling for help because Corwin is about to kill her. It isn't a half bad setup, but as soon as he says, "Burn with me, burn my things," things spiral into hilariousness. This quick zoom on the Doctor's face added with this over-dramatic music just makes me laugh. The Doctor starts talking about the test results he sees in front of him. Kath then snatches it off him, and in the next shot he just brings it up to his face again as though it never happened.
Doctor, if you give her a minute.
Are you actually serious? You only have 30 of them left, you nonce.
Everybody listen to me.
These zooms are absolute gold. His slave then winces and moans about being ordered about, wishing for death. Now the line itself is good because of what follows. It's just a shame that this character's only function was to die and have this gag. Meanwhile, the Doctor and Kath are just sitting around having a chit-chat, where she dribbles out some awful dialogue about how happily married they were. Stop wasting time. Oh, and another thing, if there's only minutes to go before the ship collides with the sun, why does it need to infect the inhabitants and kill them? Surely a being that's existed for millions of years can wait a few minutes more. Both the fuel being returned and killing the people would be achieved soon enough anyway, making the antagonist feel completely overkill. Then things get really stupid on Martha's end. Riley is literally jamming his fingers into the computer now, forgetting he's supposed to be answering what would appear to be simple questions. Baldy in the Burn With Me suit then arrives, and bizarrely there's an escape pod in this exact room that wasn't even mentioned up until this point. If this was here the whole time, why didn't the crew just make their way here, wait until the ship had spun into a good angle, and jettison everyone to safety? We then have a tennis match of stupidity as well between the living and the burning.
Jettison escape pod. Jettison held. Jettison reactivate. Jettison activated.
I can't stop it!
Kath finds another charred wall, and we have another hilarious zoom on their faces. As if that wasn't bad enough, it's rounded off with more of that glorious expository dialogue.
He's picking us off one by one.
Really? Who'd have guessed that? Hang on though, you said in the scene before you knew all about the lives of your crewmates, and now she's dead, you won't even give an inch for Baldy's slave. Well, I certainly didn't care for her. Neither did Kath, and by extension, neither did the scriptwriter. But it gets worse.
Someone's hacked at the systems. I can't reroute the generators. There's no way I'm going to be able to jumpstart this ship!
Right, calm down. So he kicks the engines and then vanishes in the next shot. The interaction with Kath and the monster might not have been half bad if her friend didn't just disappear for no reason. Conveniently, he rematerializes by a machine that, produces ice? Are you fucking serious? You're minutes away from a goddamn sun, and you're telling me you can produce ice at will? How is it not melted? I'm not gonna lie to you guys. I think the bit where Martha floats away in the pod was quite good. Probably because it's another break from the intense, high-paced action of the episode, but more because it's just dead silent. You have Martha in blue and the Doctor in orange, which was a nice touch, and the fact they can't hear each other was quite emotional for me. I won't sugarcoat it though. How it led up to it was outright appalling, but maybe if the intervening segments weren't so bad, this moment could episode have really packed a punch. Kath gets given a lecture from her saviour not to touch her husband's corpse in case of infection. Then, in the next bloody scene, she punches Baldy and pushes him into yet another freezing chamber.
You won't open an airlock in flight on a ship spinning into the sun. No one can survive that. This close to the sun, the shields will barely protect you.
If I can boost the magnetic lock on the ship's exterior, it should remagnetize the pod.
Nah. This is like watching a YouTube video at 1.5 times speed. How is anybody watching going to be able to listen to this waffle? Things then get outright unscientific when the Doctor goes into the airlock. Well, this whole episode has been pretty unscientific, and I even said I'd give certain things a pass. I'm a hypocrite. There, I said it. The Doctor goes into the airlock to pull a switch on the outside of the spaceship in order to bring Martha back. Problem number 1, aren't suns supposed to have huge gravitational pulls? How didn't the Doctor just get sucked straight into it as soon as the airlock opened? Problem number 2, why on earth is there a switch box on the exterior of an airlock?
Everything on this ship is so cheap.
Problem number 3, that magnet is going to be one physics-defying machine if it's going to pull an escape pod out of a sun. I can get on board with the TARDIS dragging a ship out of a black hole because it's the bloody TARDIS. This is just some hunk of metal though, made by humans, not Time Lords. Problem number 4.
Cashier number 4, please.
The Doctor is able to identify that the sun is alive just by looking at it, and also not getting blinded either. The Doctor gets taken back to that awful looking medical room with those red, blue and green lights shining all over the place. Probably where Martha should have gone in the first place instead of running off with Bill O'Reilly. She sticks the Doctor underneath the ice machine, and I just love that with all the screaming the Doctor's making inside, she's just like, yep, easy, like making a cup of tea. Oh no, the man they froze downstairs flicked a magical switch and now it's not working. What are we going to do?
I am not leaving you. I'll be back for you.
Kath leads her burning husband into the airlock, and then,
as if by magic,
the gravity appeared. Amazing. The Doctor then starts crawling around on the floor as though he's had a killer curry, which just looks hilarious. I can tell David's giving it his all, like he always does, but oh my god, somebody just show him where the toilet is for God's sake. The fuel gets dumped and the Doctor also finishes his dump with the spaceship miraculously flying away, defying gravity once again. All is resolved. Happy.
Happy.
But wait, what about the TARDIS? Remember at the beginning when Baldy's slave said this?
Up 3,000 degrees in 10 seconds and still rising.
Even if the TARDIS survived that, which I'm willing to grant it, the whole room's going to be totally scorched, right? Wrong. Why did you even bother writing this character into the script?
We've sent out an official mayday. The authorities will pick us up soon enough.
So I guess a distress signal and an official mayday are two different things, right? Otherwise, you would have just done that from the start, wouldn't you? Right? Things couldn't possibly get worse now, surely. I'm already shaking head to toe that something even more insane is gonna happen, and oh. This moment might not have been so bad if his mate wasn't just standing there awkwardly behind them. You've had so much adventure with the Doctor, and you just go and do that? I thought I liked you, Martha.
Very hot.
The Doctor's reaction is very reasonable, but, like, if I was him, I'd have just sent her home then and there. Instead, he just tries to buy her off with a TARDIS key. She just noshed off some rando, and you're asking her to move in with you? The ending of the episode is rather odd as well. I like that Harold Saxon is getting a bit more attention now, but am I to believe that because some nobody at a party told you not to trust Martha's boyfriend, you've allowed some government officials to come into your house and tap your phone? We don't know the total ins and outs of this stuff, but it just feels rather forced. Saxon's not even in power yet, and he's already got people snooping on the Doctor? Fine, whatever. Hopefully the payoff will be worth it. So, did it suck? I wasn't expecting amazing things, but I wasn't expecting a total shitfest either. What a disaster! The opening scene is decent, and the premise is rather nice, but the execution is something else. I particularly liked it when the episode took a break from being high-paced and allowed us to take in some rather hilarious or emotional moments. Even the special effects aren't bad either. The writing, though, is just dire. diabolical. Poorly written characters, bucket loads of expository dialogue, a really pointless and over-the-top antagonist with some of the most bizarre and unscientific escape hatches to get characters out of sticky situations I've ever seen. I want to say the writing is entirely to blame, but there's some really shoddy filmmaking going on in this episode too. So yeah, this episode is worse than the Dalek episodes. Guess that shows how well I can predict how much I'll like or dislike these episodes. I give 42 a 2 out of 10. Thanks for watching. Boy, I wasn't expecting this episode to be so full of things to talk about. That's the old hindsight factor for you. This video was available to patrons a day early. Please consider supporting the channel for as little as $1 a month, and maybe we'll get a Father's Day review. Who knows? What did you think of 42? Was I too harsh? Am I just another Chibnall hater? Comment below or join us on my Discord server, where we'll continue this discussion.
It's alive.
It's alive! It's alive! It's alive!
Ooh.